Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the complexity, look closely at the sources, and pull out what really matters for you. Today, we're tackling a big one, IRS Form 1040-NR. That's the U.S. non-resident alien income tax return. It can feel, well, overwhelming, our mission, to make it less intimidating. We're starting right at the top, the taxpayer info section, breaking it down piece by piece. Think of it as your essential guide.
Absolutely. And this deep dive is really for you if you're a non-resident dealing with this form. That usually means you've got income from U.S. sources, or maybe certain U.S. tax rules apply to you. And crucially, you're someone who can't file the regular Form 1040 or the 1040-SR for seniors. Those are generally for U.S. residents and citizens.
Okay, right. Let's unpack this then. We're taking this sort of bite-sized approach because, well, the 1040-NR itself is just 2 pages, but it's kind of famous for having links to tons of other instructions and sources for nearly every single line. It's easy to get lost. So we want to make sure you get the core concepts without, drowning in details right away. All right, so diving in. Right at the very top of Form 1040-NR, the tax year. Now, I first thought, okay, calendar year, simple enough. But then I look closer. There's something specific here, isn't there? What trips people up?
You nailed it. It's that fiscal year definition the IRS uses. It's any year ending at the end of a month. Except December. If your tax year ends in December, okay, that's a calendar year. Standard stuff. But January, February, any other month, then you're talking fiscal year, like the source gives this example, a fiscal year ending February 28th, 2025. And this isn't just, a minor detail. For businesses or maybe individuals with unusual financial cycles getting this wrong, well, it can lead to penalties. It really shows how the IRS tries to account for different financial setups.
Okay, that makes sense. Fiscal versus calendar year. Got it. So once you've figured out the tax year, what's next? Identifying yourself. And I see here the main number for 1040-NR, folks, is usually an ITN, an individual taxpayer identification number.
Exactly. Yeah, for most people filing 1040-NR, it's not an SSN, it's the ITN. That number basically tells the IRS, hey, I have U.S. tax stuff to deal with, but I don't qualify for a Social Security number. And you apply for that ITN using Form W-7.
So the ITN is specifically for non-residents without an SSN.
Yeah.
What if someone could get an SSN, like maybe their status changed or something? Can they still use an ITN?
Ah, good question. That's a key point. If you are eligible for an SSN, maybe you became a resident or meet other criteria, the IRS expects you to use that SSN. And if you have an SSN, you're probably filing Form 1040 anyway, not 1040-NR. Trying to use an ITN when you should be using an SSN, that can definitely slow things down, cause processing issues. The system often flags it. Just for reference, the SSN application is Form SS5, different form, different purpose.
Okay, ITIN versus SSN. Clear distinction. Now, moving down to filing status. Wow, this looks really different from the options on a standard 1040. What's going on here? Why are the choices so limited?
Yeah, it's quite noticeable, isn't it? Things like head of household or married filing jointly, they're just not options on Form 1040-NR. The main reason is those statuses are really tied to U.S. residency and citizenship. They often come with benefits aimed at certain household situations within the U.S. tax system. Since you're filing as a non-resident, the IRS looks at your income sources and living situation through a different lens. So your options are basically single, married filing separately, or maybe qualified surviving spouse. That last one, qualified surviving spouse, has specific rules, usually if your spouse passed away recently and you have dependents. Oh, and there's another difference from the 1040. You can actually file 1040-NR for an estate or a trust. That's unique here.
So marriage filing jointly is out. What's the real-world impact of that for a married non-resident couple? Does it cost them more?
It definitely can. The married filing jointly status often gives resident couples lower tax rates or bigger deductions. Those advantages, simply not available if you're filing 1040-NR. So a married non-resident couple generally has to file as married filing separately. And yeah, that often means they end up paying more in taxes combined than a resident couple with the same income filing jointly. It's a pretty significant difference.
Right. That's a major takeaway. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Digital assets. This section feels very current. A sign of the times, for sure. What exactly do you need to declare here? Is it complicated?
Actually, on this part of the form, it's surprisingly simple right now. It's just a yes or no question near the top. You check yes if, anytime during the year you dealt with digital assets. That means things like receiving crypto or NFTs as payment, or maybe as a reward, or if you sold, traded, or otherwise got rid of a digital asset. Even just getting a financial interest in one counts. The key thing for this specific question is that it's mainly just a declaration for now. Checking yes doesn't immediately trigger a bunch of complex calculations right there. But don't let the simplicity fool you. It clearly shows the IRS is paying much more attention to crypto and digital assets. It's laying the groundwork, you could say, for more detailed tracking later on. The tax world is definitely evolving.
A simple checkbox with big implications down the road. Okay? Next up is dependents, listing children or other dependents. I did notice it says if you have more than 4, you need to attach an extra sheet. They plan for larger families.
Hey, yeah, they did. For this section, it's pretty straightforward. You list the dependent's name, their identifying number, like the example mentioned, John Doe's daughter, Elizabeth, and her ITIN. But connecting this to the bigger picture, listing them here is really just the first step. Whether you actually get, say, the child tax credit or the credit for other dependents, that's figured out separately. You'd use Schedule 8812 for that. So you list them on the main form, but the benefit calculation happens elsewhere. It shows how these forms often work together, like modules.
Wow, okay. So even just in these first few sections, tax year, ID number, status, digital assets, dependents, there's quite a bit packed in there. It really demonstrates that these initial lines are, well, fundamental, more than just basic info.
Oh, absolutely. They are the foundation. Think about building a house. If the foundation's shaky, the whole structure is at risk. An error right at the start here, it can cause problems all the way through the return, affect your tax calculations, slow down processing. Getting this part right is just crucial for everything that follows. It sets you up for accurate reporting.
So what does this mean for you listening? It means don't gloss over these first few lines. Even the stuff that seems simple, like your name and address or your filing status, has real weight. Understanding these details helps you avoid errors later. It really pays to be precise from the get-go.
Exactly. And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with. Think about how those first few lines on any important document, not just taxes, maybe a contract, an application, often set the stage for everything else. They hold a surprising amount of power. How might paying closer attention to those initial declarations, really understanding what you're stating up front, change how you approach other complex paperwork in your life? It's interesting to consider how the beginning shapes the end.